This is Lewis Art for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store, Forged Irish Stout, freebets.com. Delighted today to be joined with Harlem Eubank. We're here in the New Era Gym in Merthyr in Surrey. Mate, it's been a while, mate. It has been a while since we last caught up. You've been busy, I've been busy. But how are things, mate? Good to see you again.
Good to see you, man. It's been a little while, like you say. But no, things are good. Ticking along nicely. Excited to have a big 2024, so yeah, in a good place.
I've seen you've been travelling a lot of places. You've been about here, there and everywhere. After obviously a successful 2023 for yourself, but good to have a nice bit of travelling for yourself.
To be honest, like, you know, I live the life where I'm just in the gym every day, so when I have a short break, I feel like I need to be back here, kind of, you know, ticking over and developing. So it was nice getaway, but good to be back, working hard, and yeah, no, excited for what's next.
Absolutely. Well, we'll get on to what's next in a minute. But I just suppose focusing on the past in 2023, a big year for yourself. You got your Brighton homecoming. You kept active in a way. I think you fought 3 times last year. So happy with how that went for yourself, especially as a year of, I suppose, real progression and putting a statement into the rest of super lightweight.
Oh, most definitely. It was a good year. Got good activity and finished with a solid win against a guy in Timo that had never been stopped before. So it was a great statement. First time fighting in Brighton, in my home city. We got a really good reception. So I'm definitely keen to fight there again. And yeah, it was a great year that to follow up on, and some big fights await this year. So I'm happy with it, but I'm not looking back too much now. I'm just looking forward at you know, the lay of the land now, and I'm excited to put on big fights domestically, you know, and around the world.
Just focusing there on the Brighton homecoming, it may not be something that you look at now, but for someone to bring boxing back to Brighton, and make that quite a big thing, because obviously, you know, the main event is yourself, but it isn't just you who you're influencing a lot of guys on the undercard, you know, guys like Tommy Welch and so forth, to come to Brighton and actually put a show on there, to be the man that headlines that. Maybe something that you look back on the end of your career, but must be very proud to do that.
Oh, definitely. It's great to be able to, you know, give other fighters the opportunity to fight in front of the home crowd as well, and to fight in front of their friends and local people that, you know, have seen their progression. And it's you don't really think about it as a fighter, because you're just focused on, you know, what you got in front of you. But, you know, like you say, when you look back, you can kind of think warmly about, you know, bringing an event like that to Brighton, in a venue like the Brighton Centre that hasn't been fought in since, obviously, my uncle fought there all those years ago. So it was a great event, and, you know, it couldn't have gone any better. The ending to the night was the cherry on top.
Absolutely. I suppose we'll focus now on what's next. Big fights for yourself, as we said there. It was not an apprentice year in a way, because you've been a pro for a couple of years now, but first time, I suppose, being shifted into real serious domestic fights, when you was main event a couple times last year. So now puts you on a good pedestal to be wanting massive fights in the future.
Definitely. So now it's time for those big fights, big names in the division, domestically and abroad. I want the big fights now, so that's what I'm coming for. And you know, I'm going to be competing at 147 as well. So it's exciting. It's exciting now.
Well, I suppose we'll touch on that, as you mentioned it, a move up to 147 for yourself. What are the reasons for this move? Obviously, we know you've fought a lot of your fights at super lightweight, and it's been no secret that has always been a bit difficult for you at times. So I suppose that must be the reason that you are moving up to 147.
Yeah, I think I've been fighting at 140 for a long time. We tried to get a lot of the big fights at 140, and you know, it took a move up to 147 for people to start calling my name. So you know, after that interview, after the last fight, you know, I said I'm making a move up to 147, and I'll be more comfortable at that weight. I'll be stronger. You know, I'll be faster. I'll be able to use my attributes better at 147. Yeah, I think it's a natural progression as you get older, you grow into your body. You have to shift through the gears and slowly move up weight classes. So I think it's naturally time to make that move now.
I was going to say that. Is there an importance for someone like yourself who you do live the life, and you know there's never no real cheat days for yourself. I mean, you can see it through your Instagram. It's full of a whole book of a whole knowledge of health. But sometimes you can't help the weight, and a good thing sometimes for yourself that you are focusing on just the fight, and maybe sometimes you might have been looking at the fight before the fight, whether that be making weight, and good to have not have that problem anymore.
100%. The weight, you know, was always the biggest fight, and like I say, I think naturally it's just about using your tools. It's not about weight making. It's about fighting. You know, boxing and fighting and using your skill set to the best of your ability, and that is that's what it comes down to on fight night. And yeah, the weight is secondary to that, and it should be secondary to that. So it's just about being comfortable and coming in at a weight where you can utilize all your skills, and going forward, that's what we're going to be doing.
And you mentioned there about 147, you know, needs no introduction to the big names there. Obviously, a big one being Conor Benn, who you have previously spoken about before, but there's also other names as well, you know, guys like Harry Scarf, who obviously is a promotional stablemate, David Avanesian, these other names. So exciting that you can mix it with those guys mentioned there.
100%. It's a division filled with huge domestic fights, and I'm excited to make them fights. So no doubt in the next few fights there's going to be some big names that we're drawing from, and there's already big names. So the next fight will be a big fight. But yeah, like I say, them big names in the division. That's what we want. We want them big fights that get people excited. Boxing's at a stage now where the fights are coming together now, you know, and I'm excited to be in them huge fights now.
Obviously a huge fight that people have talked about, and you have talked about as well. You've been banging on the door for it. You and obviously your uncle Eubank Senior. Conor Benn is the name that most people have linked you with. Ideally, I know he's got issues going on, but ideally that is still a foreseeable option for yourself.
Yeah, that's, you know, he's got things that he needs to work out. But yeah, he needs to follow the boxing border control guidelines, and put himself in position to take these big domestic fights now. I don't think he can get the respect that he wants without taking these domestic fights, the fantasy fights. You know, it's influencer stuff. It's not what the boxing fans want. So I think if, you know, to get the respect that he wants, he needs these domestic fights, and he needs to sort his license out with the boxing board, follow the natural proceedings, and get his license in order to take these domestic fights.
I was going to say that, like, what do you make of the whole situation now as we fast forward to almost 2 years since then? And it obviously heavily involves yourself as wanting to fight Conor Benn, but obviously the whole ordeal was when he was meant to fight your cousin. So just looking back on it now and the way that he's dealt with it, obviously had an appeal rejected last night. As you said there, ideally want him to follow the rules of the board.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 years of nonsense, really, isn't it? It's you know, it's just been clickbait stuff for the last 2 years. So yeah, just follow the proceedings. It's life. You know, you have to follow the governing bodies. They set the rules, so follow the British Boxing Border Control's protocol, get your license back, and then get in these big domestic fights that the boxing public want to see.
Do you find it silly when he calls out names like, you know, he'd always be quick to dismiss you, you know, calling you Harry Eubank and things like that, but, you know, he's calling for Haney, you know, he said Garcia and Tank and names like that, guys who I suppose aren't at welterweight, but then he ends up fighting, you know, guys like Peter Dobson who necessarily people may not know of, so must find that frustrating?
I mean, it's not frustrating for me. I'm sure it's frustrating for the boxing public, because you're scamming them. Again, it's just influencer stuff, isn't it? It's not real boxing, and you're not going to get respect for calling for these names and how many of these names have materialized. That's what it comes down to. So yeah, it's just nonsense at the end of the day, and this game's about taking the big fights, taking the risky fights, and entertaining the boxing public. That's what we're here for.
Well, I did want to get on to your uncle, Chris Eubank Sr., very, very vocal in the build-up to the Brighton fight. I suppose he's done really most of your talking for you. Did you sort of enjoy that, enjoy having him by your side, and I suppose the support that he can bring for you?
Yeah, he knows the game inside and out. It's good to have him by my side moving into the big fights now, and that's what we want. He's got a wealth of experience, so I trust him fully, and yeah, he's there to guide me, into that world championship pursuit.
Absolutely. I did want to move on slightly. Obviously, we're here with Abass Baraou. I have to give him a mention. New European champion. See him crowned about last month almost now, I think, last month. To see him crown a European champion and see, you've been by his side, being his friend for so long, to see that must be a great feeling for everyone involved.
Amazing to see, because, yeah, like to see his journey, all the ups and downs, and then that moment where everything, it makes sense, when you win that European championship, all the hard times, all the trial and tribulation he's faced, taking risks and going out to Miami, to change his training regime. Everything comes to a head when you win that belt, and to see, he's not an emotional guy, so to see that after the fight, it was naturally just all kind of piled up to that moment. Yeah. So it was amazing to watch him do that in a great fight against a guy like Sam Eggington, who's gonna give whoever he's up against a hard night's work. He introduced himself to the world, and he's ready for them big fights now. World title shots. That was a world title eliminator as well. So. Big fights against the top guys now for him. He's in position. You mentioned there about the journey that he's been on. There's obviously a couple of interviews you've done after got quite emotional. And I suppose for yourself, when you've been in that position, you've had ups and downs in your personal life and in the boxing career. I suppose good to sort of be open about sort of the ups and downs for boxers coming through, that it's not always an easy journey. Definitely, this game is far from easy. So yeah, you have to. Sometimes you have to persevere through a lot of these tough moments in the sport, and it's moments like that where it's all worth it. It's not an easy ride, and some people have it harder than others. And he had a difficult year and a half, 2 year period, which he which he turned around and became champion last fight. So it's all worth it, in them moments where you get the shot that you wanted, you take advantage of it, and you put on a show for the boxing public. That's when the trial and tribulation, the tough times, that's when it's all worth it.
And just for yourself, I'll sort of ask the same question to Abass. Do you feel like sometimes in your career you've ever felt yourself where it's like, you never feel like things are going your way, but importance on perseverance. But do you ever feel like you've learnt from perseverance in a way when things haven't been going your way, and you almost sort of felt like, this may not be for me?
Yeah, I've had 2 year periods where I should be fighting and I haven't fought before. Much earlier in my career, but they've kind of reinforced that whenever you do fight, all the work that you're doing is going to come to fruition, and you just have to have that mindset where you don't know when it's coming, but it's coming, and to keep preparing for that moment, and that's what he's done, and that's what stood him in good stead there to go and take that European title.
Absolutely, and just as we do close this interview off, Harlem, what can we expect from you in 2024? We had a great year of 2023, but I suppose what's next in 2024?
Big fights, big domestic names. We've got a good list of names that my management's going through now, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to fight. So they'll cover things on that side, and I'm ready to go into the big fights now. They know that, and they'll be selecting some good options for the next one. And like you say, some huge names in the division going forward. So an exciting year.
Absolutely. Harlem, as always, great to see you again, mate. Good to see you, I suppose, in the UK for a change as 6 months, the last sort of couple of months would have said. Good to be catching up with you, mate. And yeah, hopefully, I'm sure we'll be catching up very soon when there's a fight date imminent, mate. Top man, mate. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, mate. Cheers.